I'm going to split this video into two parts. The first part is going to be facts as I know them. The second part is going to be opinions with a disclaimer. Now, to begin with the facts, Tyson Fury and Wladamir Klitschko purse bids held yesterday in Panama. A lot of promoters flew out there to put bids in for the fight. To my knowledge, this included Eddie Hearn of Sky and Matchroom fame, and a guy whose name I won't try to pronounce, well, I will try and pronounce, Wladamir, who is the sort of madcap Russian promoter who put in the crazy £23 million bid for Klitschko Povetkin. Anyway, these parties were all ready to put their bids in to win the fight, and a last minute 11-hour deal was reached in order to get it over to the line and to avoid going to purse bids. I have a theory on that, and it's a theory that I'll come on to in 1 minute. But just briefly, what is now knowledge, what has been agreed, and what I believe to be now factual, is that the fight will take place on October the 24th, and the fight will take place in Germany. Now, the October the 24th date is very relevant. I recently did some fairly extensive coverage about Tyson Fury's lack of conditioning in between his last fight and now. October the 24th, at the very least, buys him some time. Here we are, it's the first week of July. Peter Fury put out a tweet about a week ago saying Tyson's already lost 2 stone. He's got pretty much 3 or 4 weeks left in July. He's got the whole of August, he's got the whole of September, and he's got a week of October. Sorry, October the 24th, he's got 3 weeks of October. Approximately, in my mind, we are about 14 weeks away from fight time. That's probably enough time for Tyson Fury to rectify the physical damage that he has done in between the fight with Christian Hamer and now. So that's a relevant factor. The location is also a relevant factor in that it's being held in Germany. Had this fight gone to purse bids, there was an outside chance it could have ended up in the States. How could that have affected Tyson Fury? We know that his uncle isn't allowed to travel to the States. His uncle also being his trainer and key cornerman because of a pre-existing legal condition that prevents entry for him. So the date and the venue are, in my opinion, both positives for Tyson Fury. Clearly, Germany is not the first choice venue. It's not as good as Wembley for him. Nevertheless, it allows him to travel with his uncle, and the date gives him more than enough time to prepare. So that's what I believe we know in terms of facts. From here on in, we're going to be talking more speculation. Now, the disclaimer here, I don't want to steal Dwyer's thunder by throwing disclaimers into all of my videos, but what I would say is I don't have a source for this. A lot of what I'm about to say is pure speculation and just a sort of theory that I have, really. So please feel free to discount it. It's just one man's opinion. That did sound like Dwyer there when I said one man's opinion. Right, the purse. I've heard very, very conflicting sources on the purse. Today's Daily Mail reported a £1 million purse for Tyson Fury. Today's Daily Mirror said he may stand to earn up to £3.5 million. I've read Mick Hennessy saying he could stand to earn £5 million if it is broadcast on pay-per-view in the UK. I've heard that all sorts of broadcasters are involved in bidding for the fight. BT, ITV, Sky. Potentially the fight could end up on Sky box office. Let me tell you my theory on this. Let me tell you what I think is going to happen. In terms of the purse, my understanding, Bernd Bonte, the Klitschko manager, is apparently quoted, and I haven't seen the quote myself, but I've heard 2 or 3 people refer to this quote as saying that it is an 8-figure total agreement in euros, which would suggest 10 million plus in terms of euros. Now, on an 80-20 split basis, which is what it would have been had it gone to purse bids, that would suggest at the lower amount possible, 10 million euros, Vlad would get 8 million euros, Fury would get 2 million. I see that being around accurate for what this fight would potentially bring in, and I see that as being around accurate for what the purses could be. Although that's just my opinion, as I say, it's a largely baseless assertion. But let me tell you what I think's gone on behind the scenes, because this is interesting. Now, this Russian promoter, Vlad Hurinov, is the promoter behind Chudinov, both Dmitry and Fedor, and the promoter behind Ustinov. Now, Frank Warren clearly has very strong links with this guy, clearly. Dmitry Chudinov was appearing on Box Nation shows at really strange times. Yeah, I remember he was fighting, I think it was Patrick Mendy or Max Maxwell back in the day on a Box Nation undercard. And I thought, how odd is this, that this guy who's something like, I don't know, 12-0, from Europe is being brought in to fight on a Frank Warren undercard. It seems that the two guys have some sort of a relationship, and that would make sense, because Dmitry Chudinov was then brought in to fight Chris Eubank Jr. Fedor Chudinov, who's just beat Felix Sturm for the super middleweight world title, is now facing none other than Frank Buglioni, a Frank Warren fighter. Another instance of Frank Warren working with this guy. Finally, Alexander Ustinov is another guy that this Hurinov works for. Now, we know again there's been Alexander Ustinov working with Derek Chisora in sparring, linked with Derek Chisora for a fight. We know that Alexander Ustinov was linked with Tyson Fury for a fight. My point being that these guys clearly know each other. These guys clearly have a working relationship with each other. I've given numerous examples of the two trying to work together. Now, about a month ago, I saw on Boxing Scene that Frank Warren was going to co-promote Alexander Ustinov. It also appears that, some money has changed hands, some favours have been done. In the Frank Buglioni versus Fedor Chudinov fight, clearly that wasn't the easiest fight to make. Clearly Frank had to pay a good purse for Chudinov. Clearly, it's not the glamour opponent for Chudinov that maybe he could have hoped for. It's not an Andre Ward, it's not a Carl Frost, for example. So my point is that these two guys know each other, these two guys work together, seemingly these two guys have a workable relationship. Now, this Vlad Hurinov is known to me for those reasons, because I'm a fan of the UK scene. But on a global footing, he is known for the Povetkin Fury purse bid, where he decided to, put up a huge bid in order to get that fight to Russia. A 23 million euro bid. I think it's 23 million euros, yeah. A career high payday for Wladamir Klitschko by some way. A huge fight. Now, I think what's happened here is Wladimir Klitschko was playing very, very hard to get in terms of making an agreement. That is my guess. I think Wladimir is a big game player. He's into his mind games. He's into his negotiations. I'm not saying he's a diva in the Miguel Cotto sense of the word, but he likes to feel that he's the A-side. Yeah, we know that he does power plays in negotiations. Now, I feel what has probably happened is he has gone to suggested that we could go to purse bids. Perhaps he has done that knowing that Frank Warren would be very scared of purse bids, because someone like Eddie Hearn could come in and steal the fight from under his nose and, get the fight on Sky. Have a big win for Frank Warren turn into a major win for one of his competitors, Eddie Hearn. I think he's been negotiating hard for the purse he wants and the terms and conditions he wants, knowing that Frank Warren was scared, could potentially be scared of going to purse bids. Then I think what's happened is Frank has realised that the fight was heading that way, and Eddie Hearn's made a big song and dance. He appeared on Sky. There's various Sky articles saying Eddie's going to fly out to Panama. Eddie's preparing a massive bid to steal the fight. Eddie's going to get the fight for Sky Sports box office pay-per-view. And I think, Frank has decided to take some action. So it is not inconceivable, that Frank knows this Vlad guy, this Russian promoter, because he's done business with him several times. Now, what happened straight after that? Tyson Fury put up a tweet saying that he'd be prepared to go to Russia for the fight. This Vlad who appears in some newspapers as Vlad Hurinov appearing on behalf of Frank Warren. So clearly there is a link there. He then appears at these purse bids and puts on Twitter and all sorts of media outlets a photo of him with a bid for 18 million euros. Another example of him doing a massive overbid. I think this is a power play from Team Fury. I think what's happened is they've realised that Wladamir was being a diva in negotiations, and if they didn't give in to his demands, Wladamir was going to go to purse bids to try and potentially mean that the fight wouldn't be on Box Nation. Then I think what's happened is this Vlad's been sent in to look like he's going to win the fight. And I think that could potentially scare Wladamir, because since Wladamir fought Povetkin, as I understand it, and I'm not a political maestro here, but as I understand it, the political situation between Ukraine and Russia has become completely untenable and very unsafe. So I think what Vlad is scared of is that this Russian promoter wins the purse bid and puts the fight in Russia. Tyson Fury's been tweeting and saying he's prepared to go to Russia. This promoter turns up with the $18 million bid. I think that's what's gone on here. And I think that's why there's been a last minute agreement. Call's been put into Vlad, Klitschko, saying, look, this Russian promoter is going to turn up, he's going to overbid, he's going to get the fight in Russia. Can we not have a last minute agreement here? That's my thought. I think the long and the short of it is Wladimir Klitschko was doing a power play. Eddie Hearn was prepared to fly out and steal the fight. Klitschko was saying, it's going to have to go to purse bids. And the way Team Fury have been fought back is they've organised this guy to go out there and put the fear of God into Klitschko that he's going to have to travel back to Russia again with the new political circumstances for this fight. Just my theory, no sources, no proof, but to my mind it makes sense. Now, if we take my theory as correct, which we may or may not do, please comment and let me know if you think I'm along the right lines, then all this talk about which broadcaster it is with is a fallacy. I think as part of the agreement, it's already been made clear that the fight will be on Box Nation. I think that will have been a key member of the bargaining chip. I understand K2 is officially the promoter, possibly with some co-promotion deal from Hennessy Sports. I strongly anticipate the broadcaster here will be Box Nation. I think that was already agreed. My guess is that was part of the deal for not letting, for having an agreement and for not letting it go to purse bids and preventing this Vlad Hurinov from overbidding. That's my point of view. For the time being, there's all this talk about, is it Sky pay-per-view? Is it going to be free to air? Is it going to be on BT Sports? In my eyes, it's Box Nation. Let me know your thoughts. Is my theory correct? What do you think went on behind the scenes? Thanks for watching.